Well, what is going on, everybody? Today we're gonna have a look at an interview that Aaron Warwick, co-founder and also game designer of Illuvium, did with Tacter right here. Tacter is a companion app for Illuvium, I believe, and it only has 300 views, so I think this went under the radar of many people. I'm super stoked to hear about Aaron Warwick's thoughts, because he's just a genius and it's always nice to listen to him. So let's have a look and see how it goes.
Dota Auto Chess is the first auto battler created and picked.
This, by the way, is Frobe. Frobe moved from TFT to Illuvium. Currently, he's doing both, I think. And he's a super nice guy, super good content creator, so definitely check him out. And I think he's doing this thing with Tacter.
With 200k monthly active players. Riot Games adapted it with League of Legends characters, which was a massive success. For instance, Riot Games claimed there were 33 million players during Set 4, but many other studios such as Ubisoft tried to jump on the trade and failed. Could a game compete with teamfight tactics? What is the current state of the auto battler genre and how could it evolve in the future? These will be.
Man, I tried all the auto battlers, but the one I didn't try was Hearthstone. I think it was called Battlegrounds or something. I don't know, I never got into it. I think it must be good, but probably not what we're looking for. Maybe Illuvium is what we're looking for. Because I play a lot of TFT and it annoys me, man. I still play it, but it's, I don't know, it's far from really good.
Be the topics of today's discussion.
Hello, my name is Marcos. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Tacter, your favorite companion for teamfight tactics. We have helped around 1.2 million TFT players to win more with your guides and our tailor-made tools since 2019.
Oh, nice.
And today I'm very
check
excited because we have a very special guest, Aaron, a game design expert and the co-founder of one of the most promising free-to-play Web3-based games, Illuvium. So let's welcome Aaron Warwick. So hi, Aaron. How are you?
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. Really excited to get into some more in-depth conversations than the one.
To be honest, the reason I'm smiling is his voice. I don't want to hate on him, but it sounds good. Like, it sounds very, very friendly. I like it. It makes me smile. So let me just move my camera right here. Seems like that's a bit in the way of the other guy's face. What's his name? Marcos. All right, I'm gonna sit down here in the bottom.
Ones that I'm normally used to. So yeah, thank you for inviting me.
So could you please introduce yourself to our audience who plays TFT mainly and might not know you or Illuvium?
Yeah, I wouldn't expect many people that are TFT players to know us. We're obviously a much more new game. We are a decentralized, autonomous organization that is attempting to build the first AAA blockchain game. It's I guess it's more of a hybrid blockchain game because you don't actually need to have your own hardware wallet to be able to play our game. We have a free-to-play element that lets players who are used to just playing normal games come into our system and play without needing to know anything about NFTs or anything like that. The main goal of our game is to be a game just like anything else and be as enjoyable and fun for people to play. They should only enjoy it on the game's own merits. They shouldn't really need to care about any of the other stuff that we have in our game. And once they have played for a while and gotten used to it, they can start to look into some of the other things we have going. And the main reason why we've made our game using blockchain technology is because on the back end, we have a voting system that is done using our tokens, which means that the decisions of the game don't ultimately end up with me or anyone else on the team. They end up with the community. So in effect, the whole studio is really designed to be community run and community owned. And our only job at the moment is to kickstart that process so that we can let the wisdom of the masses take over time.
Actually, that's one of the things why we moved to Web3 as well, because like the vision behind Tacter is to empower gamers, and gamers are the community. And I think that the most important thing about Web3 tech is like that it empowers gamers. So it's real, so they can have a voice in the game that otherwise is not so often.
Kind of feels a little bit like I'm reacting to somebody reacting to my video that I uploaded recently, because Yeah, it feels like a deja vu. I went over all of this stuff in my video, but it's nice to hear it from them. It confirms me.
Often. So we are going to be talking in deep today about all of that. But first, tell me a little bit about the game itself, because there is not only one game. So we have Illuvium Arena, that is the auto battler. It's the most similar thing to TFT that our audience is most familiar with. But there is a lot of other games as well. So you are creating the whole environment. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, again, the idea behind it is to take advantage of the good parts that exist in the blockchain space, which is openness, transparency, and the security that you know that whatever is said is going to be done because it can't really be changed. So the original idea with a lot of blockchain games was that you are going to be able to get these items that you got in one game and you're going to be able to use them in another game, like buy a sword here, use it over there. I think that most gamers are smart enough to realize that that is it's complete rubbish. It's not happened so far, and I don't think it ever will, because it involves separate blockchain studios working together on a level that just doesn't seem realistic to happen. Why would someone take a sword from one game, bring it over to another game, and then that community or that company says, yeah, you can use it and destroy everyone because that sword is so powerful and you don't need to spend anything in our game. It's just not realistic. And most gamers are smart enough to realize that. Our way around that is to be a studio that just builds a dozen games. And that way you really can ensure that not only will that sword that you get in one game be able to be used in another game, it'll be roughly the same sort of power level. It'll have roughly the same sort of feel to it. So even if it's used differently in a first-person shooter compared to a kart racing game, compared to a auto battler, it should still have some of the same features to it that makes it feel like the same item going through the world. We don't need to negotiate with anyone else because we are just one studio building all of these things. So our proof of concept to the world.
It's funny. I think those items that he mentions right now, they're the Illuvials, right? So you fight with a Ramphie in the arena. You also then take it to a kart racer and you drive a kart with Ramphie sitting in it. But how do you bring it to a shooter? Are you running around as Ramphie and shooting stuff with like fire? That would be crazy.
World is 3 games at the moment. Technically, there's a 4th one that I won't really go into, but we have the one that you've mentioned so far, which is the Auto Battler. That is sort of like a standalone game that is designed to use assets from the world. It's basically where you get a deck of items that you can then go and build. Probably the best way for people to understand it would be some sort of a combination of something like Hearthstone and TFT, where you bring in your own deck. You're not using just a random set like in TFT, but the battles play out very much in a similar style to the way that TFT battles play out, except for us, the game is mostly 1 versus 1. Then we have an open world RPG collectible game, which is where you actually collect the creatures. It's around about maybe 65 kilometers squared of open world made by some of the best artists in the world. And that's where you're actually collecting the creatures. And we integrate the 2 games together by saying that once you get into the encounter, instead of it being like Pokemon where it's like you do something and then I do something, we actually use the auto battler to do those battles. Then we have a 3rd game, which is a industrial city builder game. It's a bit more like one of those casual games like Clash of Clans or Simpsons Tapped Out, that style of game, where you can build up a whole ecosystem and an industrial complex, and then you can extract out of that land valuable things that all the other gamers playing the game need to use to buy things in the world. So when someone is buying something in our game, they're not buying those gemstones from some company. They're actually buying it from other users of the game playing a different game. And so it's really about having a whole community of players working to create their own closed ecosystem that allows them to just build whatever they want. And eventually, after we make more and more games, people will start to see that it maybe gets the feel of an MMO, but
man, I really hope the marketplace is gonna be like in World of Warcraft. I really like that simple yet deep kind of style of marketplace a lot. I didn't experience much other, but I'm sure it's gonna be a great marketplace. And I can't wait for the ecosystem to, like, I've spent so much time in World of Warcraft just trying to sell all the cloth and then resell it a week later for more, or just buy everything up and be the monopoly holder of this item. And I love that kind of stuff. Like real life economy, but made very simple in a game.
Not by it just being one giant game, but by being a lot of individual little games that they can go in and out of.
Okay. Oh, so many questions. I don't know how to where to start. But basically, like the main point here is, if I get it right, is that all the games are related. So, and the game interoperability is the end goal here. That the things that you get or the things for play one of the games can be used, and you can leverage that on the other games with different characteristics, with different goals. But that's the main point of the whole environment. This reminds me a little bit like to traditional IPs, for example, Riot Games with League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics, Valorant, Legends of Runeterra. They are not building in the Web3 yet, but up to a point they can do that as well, like using for example, your League of Legends skins, using it in TFT. But that's not happening. So what do you think, that they are not doing that, or they are not building that kind of environment?
It's no secret that I'm a big fan of Riot. I think that they are an incredibly clever company that really knows how to get to the heart of why people play games. I think sometimes people level criticism at them for sort of copying other games and not sort of making something up of their own. And I don't think that that's ever really been what they've strived to do. What they want to do is make a version of a type of genre that is very accessible and easy to play. And what they do better than absolutely anyone on the planet, in my opinion, they've even they've surpassed Blizzard, is they've built an IP. They've got that lore. I remember they started it maybe 7 years ago, and maybe it's longer ago. I'm getting old, but they started to realize that if they could get the lore of their world to the point where people really felt part of that whole system, it wouldn't matter which game you went into, you would get glimpses of it each and every time you went and played, and it would make it feel more real. And that, I think, is probably the most brilliant thing.
I have no idea of League of Legends lore. I've played it for like 15 years, and the only thing I might expect is all the ninjas are together, all the frost people probably belong together, and all the pirates, they belong together. But other than that, I think Trash stole Lucian's wife. That's why he's mad at him. And yeah, that's it. And Brand used to be a human, but then he somehow got cursed, and now he's possessed by this flame devil. Well, I guess I know a few like little pieces, and now we even got Arcane, which kind of serves you the lore on a silver platter. But I know one friend, he was scrolling always through the lore and reading all the story of all the characters, but man, ain't nobody got time for that. Probably really good
thing that they have done.
Yes.
On top of being able to sort of really extract what it means to play this type of a game. And so they might not be the first to come up with a genre, but they tend to do it quite well. I mean, I have criticisms of all of their games, but I don't think anyone can say that any particular game is perfect, besides possibly Portal 2. And so
that's a good game.
And so really the idea is that we want to
I gotta download Portal
do
2
something
again.
similar with our IP and come up with a whole story world where people can really get used to the world that they're in by playing all of these different games. Would Riot ever do what we're doing? Well, probably not. They're already an incredibly valuable and successful company. I don't think you're going to find many of the top tier companies giving away their sort of ownership of
the
those
community,
games
yeah.
to the people, it's just not worth it for them. That's where they make their money. Yeah,
mainly in the innovator's dilemma, right? It's like why to do it, like, and then you are late to the party. Yeah, it's totally that.
Yeah, and people look at the blockchain games and they think a lot of them are just straight scams because just having the name blockchain or crypto or something in the title, it doesn't actually mean anything at all. It's what you use the technology for, and we're using it for a completely separate reason for what almost every other blockchain game out there is trying to do, which is mainly you want to get this like pump and then like dump, and like that's abhorrent to us, and we don't have anything to do with it. What we are trying to do is come up with a sustainable ecosystem. You know, the crypto industry has gone up and down, and you know, we take those rides with us, but it's not our design to have things just like pump and go up. What we want is something that's a stable ecosystem that is really and truly owned by the community. We have approximately 10 million tokens inside of our ecosystem that are allowed to vote, and the vast majority of them have nothing to do with people who are building the game. So we are really beholden to them. If we make bad decisions, they're going to hold us accountable. They'll bring in some other company to start building games inside of the ecosystem.
Going down again.
So they should. It's up to us to really own the respect of the community and make sure that we really take that and do with it what we need to do, which is to treat it with the utmost respect rather than just doing whatever we want. And that's the whole idea. It's scary, but
I think that's very, very, very smart and very important, because in that way, community feels like you're listening to them and they have a real power through the game, and they can make their ideas worth in some way and set the direction of the game along you. So I think that's very clear. And you make a very interesting point about the IP and how new games leverage old IP or IP in other games, because this is something that in auto battlers is very, like, you can see it like very clearly, because in terms of engagement in the auto battlers category, we have like two big games that are TFT and Hearthstone, both of them in the millions active players, in the millions dimension, and then the rest of all the games, things like Dora Underlords, Chisiana, Super Auto Pets, Legend TD2. But there is a huge gap in the middle. And the two winners, mainly TFT and then Hearthstone, both of them were born behind a big IP, like the Hearthstone IP and the League of Legends IP. So do you think that's the key part to reach that level of engagement, or what do you think that are the key to reach that point?
I think it matters. I think that having a big IP behind you certainly is something that a lot of people care about. I know personally when I'm not a Dota player, I mean, I would like to think of myself as a League of Legends player, but I almost play it not at all anymore. Not because I think it's bad, but I just don't have any time. But I did consider myself to be a League of Legends player, and I only decided to play an auto battler when we got to the point of the TFT coming out, because I knew the system and I knew that I'd be able to instantly sort of understand the characters. Like, Veigar is always going to be this mage character that's going to do some, big spike damage. And like they wouldn't change that. I have some slight points against that with the current set that I think they're going in the wrong direction. But in general, it allows you, even though the game mode is such a different thing, it allows you to learn it a lot quicker because your brain has already got a bunch of this information downloaded. And for everybody else, that's really hard to do. And we'll have to do the exact same thing that they did early on, 15 years ago when they started Riot, is you got to earn those people in some way or form. But once you've got a few games out there, if people are already interested in our ecosystem and then we put out a first-person shooter, I think there's a decent chance that they'll at least give it a shot, because they might be like, hey, I wonder how my Ramfire is going to fit into this first-person shooter. Is it going to mean that I'm going to be able to just rain down fire from the sky on these people? Or if I get my cute little Atlas, am I going to get some sort of a water shield? Or, you know, so that they're looking for how that is going to extend the IP. And I think that will certainly help. But there's also no doubt that you do need to make a decent game behind all of it. So there's a lot of confounding factors.
Yeah, actually, I think that is even powerful in this new era, because you are not only sharing the IP, so the context is already shared with the early adopters or with the other players that are already playing other games from you, but you are sharing as well all the items, all the NFTs, all the ownership that they have in other games, that if they can use it in the new one, it's even like a higher and a stronger driver for you to try the game and leverage your existing like treasury in a new game. So I think that's it is something that traditional games are gonna have a hard time to do or to replicate with these new techs, and you can use that to compete with the traditional game.
We look towards the deck building card games to start off with, because they're the closest to us in terms of having a player have an inventory. You know, in like League of Legends, for example, you don't really own anything, and then when you go into TFT, you don't own anything. So it's hard for us to learn lessons from them when it comes to that sort of stuff. But when you look at something like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering, there is a set of existing stock that people own, and then they can go and play with that. And so we took a lot of lessons from that sort of real based way of looking at an inventory, because even though ours is digital, it still is real in the sense that it is like 100% verifiable. It's even more real than something like, say, a Pokemon card, because with Pokemon, it could be that there's some grandmother that has a giant box in their attic and it hasn't been seen for 20 years. And then all of a sudden she just decides to, you know, give it away. And then all of a sudden there's 500 more Pikachus from the first set that are suddenly flooding the market, and it can actually change the value of those things. Nothing like that can happen on the blockchain, because it's all open. So, you know, if I have 1 of 10 of something, you know that there's not an 11th one just floating around there. So it's even more real in that sense. Plus, you get all the benefits of digital, which means that the cards never wear out. You can use them as often as you want, and they don't need to be appraised for their scratches and things like that. So overall, there's a lot of cool things that we can do. But because of that, there's so many restrictions that get placed on us, where another company can just say, well, this is just a game. And, you know, you could have Zelda where everybody can have the Master Sword, and that's totally fine. In our game, you can't have everybody have the Master Sword. If that's a one-of-a-kind item, in our system, there can only be one person who has it. But you have to really rejig the way that you think about building a game. And it is really, really tough. It is absolutely excruciating to come up with some amazing idea that you think would be great for the game, and then realize, oh, it goes against this idea of people actually owning it and about the community being the ones that control it. And so we have to try and like rework it to fit in there. And I think
I get that you should not have a Master Sword, but how about a Master Ball? I want to have a Master Shard where you just catch anything, like 100% success rate on a shard. That's got to be a thing, right?
That there's probably sometimes where our ideas are a little bit constrained, but sometimes when you have that constrained space, you can come out the other end with some really innovative things that people wouldn't have ever thought of, because they didn't have those constraints to begin with. And we just hope that we can come up with some way of getting something that people look at and say, hey, this is interesting. We've got about 30,000 players playing our betas at the moment. We have around about 1 million people requesting to play it. I don't know how many of them would be playing on a daily basis if all of them got in. I don't think that we're anywhere close to the size of some of the big names out there. But because we're one of the only sort of big, you know, Web3 games, I think that there is a decent community that we can draw with to get pretty big numbers straight away. They might not be as big as the big boys instantly, but that's okay. We need to earn our way through the space, and you wouldn't expect to just instantly go to the top. We'll have to show people what we've got, and then let them determine whether or not they love it or like it or hate it, and whatever it is, we'll be behind it, trying to improve it and get it better all of the time.
No, actually, I think that those numbers are very, very strong for a beta. Like for iterating and to build around the community, and they are very, very good numbers. And how? Let's say that one of the users of Tacter want to try Illuvium right now, want to try what's the current state of probably the auto battler, because they are more used to try that category of that kind of games. What are like the steps, or because you mentioned that you need an inventory to play, but how do you get that inventory? You have to buy it, or you have to all of that works?
It's a little bit different depending on which beta we're talking about. In general, you have to put through a beta request, because we're building everything to connect in with the blockchain, and there's like a whole back-end component to it. We don't want to expand too quickly and have the experience for the beta players significantly decrease. So we started off with allowing 5,000 people in, and then we upped it to 10, and then to 20. Now it's 30,000. As we get towards our open beta, we will add more and more players. And then when it becomes open beta, that's when you will no longer need to petition to get a code. You'll just be able to go and create an account.
Sorry for interrupting, but that's my opportunity to say that to celebrate the Tacter X Illuvium partnerships, we are giving away 100 beta spots. So if someone wants to try the game right now, we are giving away 100 beta spots. So stay tuned and check our Twitter accounts, that everything is gonna happen there. So maybe you are the lucky one. I'm sorry for interrupting, but
we
what's
are
the
not
perfect moment, man?
We're not giving away money. We've locked it at 30,000 for the moment, and it's sort of going to stay that way for a little bit. So the ones that we've given out to only a very few number of partners, let them go and play the game and see how they go. That's one way to get in. Specifically with our Illuvium 0 game, which is the city building game. For that one, we're already integrating it with the blockchain. So to get into that, you actually have to own one of the assets, which is a plot of land. And that is tradable just on any sort of marketplace, including our own, which is custom designed for that. So if someone wanted to play in the alpha of Illuvium 0, they would have to go to our Illuvidex and purchase a plot of land from someone who is selling it. There's 20,000 plots of that land at the moment, and all of them are sold. So you have to buy it from someone else. We don't control who gets into that game at all. But again, once we hit the open market, then the idea will be all you'll need to do is make one account for all Illuvium games. And then to be able to play it, you will just need to pick the game and go and play it. Like I said, we are hybrid of Web 2, Web 3. You don't need a crypto wallet to start playing our game. The way that it works is we have a free-to-play version of everything, which is fairly comprehensive. Our best artists have worked really hard to make sure that the free content is exactly as good as the paid content. And the free content, it just looks amazing. We have these 5 characters that represent all of our affinities and classes, which is, I guess, very similar to, say, a TFT origin and class, I think they're called there. And they cover everything. There's one combination of everything. So there's 25 of them. You can fuse them together, very similar to TFT, where they can go from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3. So you can really understand how to play the game without spending any money. And you don't even need a wallet. We will create what's called a custodial wallet on the back end, which is still a blockchain wallet that has all of your stuff in it, so people can see it, etc., etc. But you can control it, and the only thing that we're authorized to do is our type of game transactions. And if eventually you decide that you don't want it to be held in custody via us, no problems. Go make your own wallets. And then there'll be a simple transfer button, which will relink your account to the new wallet. And it'll take all of the Illuvium assets from that wallet. And again, there'll only be Illuvium assets in there, and it'll take it from that Illuvium custodial wallet into your generic MetaMask wallet or whatever it is that you happen to have.
That's nice. I didn't know that's how it worked. That's pretty cool, especially for the free-to-play players, that you actually get set up with a little custodial wallet there.
And it'll just be seamless. So when you go back and play, you'll be able to do it. But I know for a lot of people, starting off in crypto can be a little bit challenging. It's also a bit nerve-wracking. We don't want people to have that experience. And also, there's going to be some amount of people that say, you know what, never want to have anything to do with crypto at all. That's fine. Just make an account. We do it all on the back for you. And you can just go and play the free-to-play game, no questions asked.
Yeah, probably. I mean, from our side, we believe that that's going to be the end, the end state of the Web3 games. You know, like people starting to play the game without even knowing what's behind, what's the tech behind. But man, you own something, it's yours. You can use it here, you can use it there. You can sell it if you want. You can transfer, you can rent it, and that's the beauty. Things that it was very hard to do in the past, in the traditional games.
It's a lot easier for us to set up all of this infrastructure using blockchain technology.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask, well, you know, why would you even do it? There's computers that have servers. You can just use backend and stuff like that. There are some technical limitations to that you know, we think are not ideal, such as having that true ownership, having it be verifiable, having it be something that isn't technically in the control of any sort of a company. These are all important for us. But the most important thing with all of it is just it's a tech that allows you to build things very quickly with that in mind. And I don't think that we'd be able to come up with a structure whereby the community owns the game if we did it using traditional means. And so we want to stress very strongly with especially Web2 communities that this is not just about selling you on some sort of fantasy that, hey, if you have, you know, NFT characters.
Didn't that sound beautiful? We want the game to be owned by the community.
Then you're going to become 50 times more handsome and you're going to get a girlfriend and everyone's going to love you. No, it's not for that. It's just purely to give you that ownership and to make the whole system a lot more cohesive.
No, actually, I mean, we have two community, right? I mean, and we believe that, and we see the power behind all of that technology. And one of the points that you have that we already mentioned before, but is how this might empower the community. And actually, in Illuvium, you have a council. You have like your community is very empowered with tokens. They can vote on different proposals. They can do a lot of things there. So, can you tell us more about what's the council, what's all of this, how you can use the token to impact the game or the decisions that are being made in the game? Because I think that's the perfect point to show that.
I think that probably the best way to describe why our council and voting system is good is because, number one, I'm one of the co-founders. I'm not on it, right? I don't have a say at all. If they don't like what we're doing, they can get rid of me. I like that idea. It's scary and it puts you out into a position where you're vulnerable. But the whole point is if we don't deliver, then we shouldn't be doing it anyway. And the third thing is that I am constantly fighting with our community over various pieces. And all I can do is put forward my thoughts on various things. But there have been many times where I've had an opinion that goes against what the community thinks. And I'll be saying like, I can't believe that you guys are thinking this. Why are you doing it? But in the end, I have to trust the wisdom of the masses. And I try to give my perspective as much as I can. But that clash and that fighting that we have is absolutely a part of the process.
But what kind of decisions can be made there? So you are voting through like new games to develop, or you are voting through, for example, how to balance existing meta in one of the
literally
games,
everything. Literally,
everything, right?
So a couple of the cool things is when we first started off, we very much knew that these people were going to own these things. And I didn't want us to have this really like high-powered character in the game. And then later on, I think we need to, balance this, and we thrash it to the point where it's kind of useless, because I've felt that in TFT and League of Legends and, World of Warcraft and a million other games where the balance comes in and you go, oh my God, my character sucks now, right? And I didn't want to be that guy who's just walking along the street and then someone walks up behind me and just shanks me and says, that's for nerfing Ramfire, right? So I didn't want to be the person that...
Yeah, don't do it like Hearthstone, where you have seasons and all the old stuff is useless. That's the coolest thing about it, that like set 1 Illuvials are so nice and they're gonna be so rare in the future. I hope there will never be something like Hearthstone where it's just useless all of a sudden.
That makes those decisions. It's not part of our nature of it being a decentralized community. So the idea was, early on, one of the things we did different to, say, TFT is we went to a fully deterministic, fully data-driven system. When you play the battle in our game, the result happens in the blink of an eye. It's all done using a simulation that happens on the back end, and all you're seeing is a replay of what happened in that battle. That allows us to generate millions of games per day of AI battling each other, improving, getting better, very similar to the way that it happens in chess. I mean, obviously a chess battle can happen a little bit quicker than us, but because all of our decision space happens at the start, we're actually more efficient than chess at calculating all of these things. So we can have the battles go like super quick and build out an AI that knows how to play the game better than any human. And then we can put another AI up against that AI that's meant to balance the game. And it tries to take all of those meta picks and tries to flatten them out so that there is no one great meta. And we put them against each other over and over again until eventually we get a game balance that is a lot less balanced, thrashy than a lot of other games out there. And then every couple of weeks, we will put forward potentially, say, 3 versions of the patch, a very mild version, a medium, and a more extreme version, where each one of them is going to be way less extreme than what happens, for example, in something like TFT. The community can vote on it. They can vote to do none of that. They can pick whatever they want. And what that means is that it'll be community driven based on an AI that has been developed for the last 2 years.
That is so sick. I never heard that before. We're going to be able to pick the patch we want. That's so cool.
To do one thing, which is to balance and make sure that the meta, like the whole game has been set up from the beginning to be that way. And hopefully that allows us to avoid those situations. That's just one way in which people can vote.
I'm sure that even that, there's gonna...
One thing I'm wondering if people are gonna miss the meta. That, like, kind of if I take League of Legends, for example, if a new champ comes out, it's usually OP. Everybody jumps on it and everybody hates on it. The others are just enjoying the OP-ness. And I know it's not like a good thing, but I think people are very used to this. Same like in TFT, you have your OP units, the very strong units in the game, and you kind of abuse them. So I think there's a lot of, how do you call them, meta slaves, and maybe you're gonna miss it. But it's a good idea. Everything balanced. It's the dream, actually. No?
The typical guy who is gonna type, "Oh, please nerf this character," or "This is so overpowered." Like, this is gonna happen. But yeah, pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, looking forward to
we get
see
that all
how
the
it
time
works.
now. Like we already have the AI working on our beta with our survival mode, and people will say this character is overpowered. It's ridiculous. You can win with this. This one is terrible. Our computer will never use the overpowered one. It'll always use this underpowered one, and it will get way higher than them. So when they say that something is really good and another thing is really terrible, they might not be right. There is obviously an element of feel behind it as well, where each character needs to feel right. So we definitely want to have the ability to alter a character's feel so that is something that's iconic. You know, we don't want every character to feel the same, so we're going to make sure that they are vastly different, but still at some level balanced.
That's awesome. One thing that I would like to talk with you is TFT usually divides like the year in different sets, like 3-4 months of seasons or sets that where they change almost everything. And actually, for this kind of games, for the Auto Battlers kind of games, it's very refreshing. We see a lot when the set begins. There is a lot of hype, a lot of people playing. Then they get a little bit bored over time, but then new sets come out, and so people start to hype again. So, are you planning to do something similar, or how is your approach for like services or this kind of things that needs games like Auto Battlers totally need?
So I'm very opinionated about this. We have a lead game designer who I think feels a little bit differently to me, but I in the end, obviously I'm going to think that I'm right about it, because if I didn't think I was right, I would think something else. But for me, I want there to be the ability for people to use characters from any set. Our first set is like our big set. It's got a lot of characters. My brother came to me and said, we have to be as good as Pokemon, so we're going to make, you know, more than 152 characters or whatever, 151 characters, whatever it is. And he didn't quite sort of realize that we're making an incredibly high fidelity AAA quality graphic 3D game, and Pokemon was originally just drawings. So doing 150 drawings is a hell of a lot easier than animating with, you know, dozens of animations and texturing and making it optimized, stuff like that. So it's been absolutely hell to get all of these characters made. We're lucky that we have a really good art team. I don't have to do anything with that. If you ever see a character that looks really good, you can know that it wasn't me who designed it. It's just someone else being really, really creative. But when we finish this set, we'll then do another set, which will be significantly smaller, maybe something like 50 characters. Of those 50 characters, probably about 30 of them are going to be like variations of characters in the original set, because you won't be able to catch them anymore. So I've been talking about Ramfire. There might be in another set, there might be like a dark Ramfire, which is very similar to like when people see like Gigamax Pikachu or whatever it happens to be. They still function largely the same, so they can fill up in that same spot in the game, but they might just have different effects. Effectively, it's our version of doing skins, but I want us to be able to have set 1 and set 2 running simultaneously, because it feels really bad, at least for me, to go into a new set. You got no idea what the hell is going on with anything. And yes, it does get a spike, but in my opinion, the last few sets of TFT, it's sort of been like big spike and then a massive drop, because there's so many changes that go through it. You just never can tell whether or not the thing's going to be balanced. Whereas for us,
that is crazy. You just said there's gonna be, I thought Ramfire is gonna be the only Ramfire, and then Aaron started with, we want to have something that feels like the same, so I thought there's gonna be a, I don't know, a Firebird, and the Firebird is gonna have similar stuff like Ramfire, but not the same, so they can fill the same position, but they still have tiny nuances of abilities or whatever differently. But now he just said there's gonna be a dark Ramfire and a purple Ramfire. So every set is gonna have similar core Illuvials. I mean, it does make sense, because then you can really balance it out, and it's not like, oh, if you don't have to set 1 Ramfire for $2,000, you cannot play competitively. So I guess that's their way of countering the play to the pay to earn, no, the pay to win strategy. So that valuable, old, rare Illuvials are never gonna be like too much the meta. But I didn't expect that. I guess it's still cool. Like, as long as they can really never appear ever again, which is the case. So you can never catch a Ramfire after the set 1 is like done. It still serves the same purpose.
We just put all of those set one characters into a complete lock where almost like for a period of time building the AI, it can't change them at all. And when we feed it the new characters, they need to find their own niche inside of that. So they need to be characters that are balanced around that already balanced system. Then we unleash it and let them play. And maybe there'll be some slight imbalances here or there, but we want to do like really, really small things, you know, like the equivalent of, you know, a 3 damage change.
The idea behind this is really good. So you don't have, like in TFT, every set there is a complete new game to learn. So here you really learn the same game over and over. You perfectionize it like chess or something. They're not changing chess. There's maybe some speed chess or whatever, some variations. But once you know chess, you know the game. And I think that's a good thing to have also in a computer game, to just not... Like, that's maybe why TFT is so addicting, but at the same time so bad. Because you kind of feel like, oh, I want to try this new set, and now I have to learn everything, and then you learn everything, and then you're like kind of done with it. You're like over it and just waiting for a new set. So yeah, I don't think that would be a good example to follow, and I'm stoked that we are not doing that.
Just someone's auto attack, rather than going from it does 100 down to 80, where it's just like it feels so bad, and all of a sudden that character is complete garbage. Yeah. The other thing to remember for us is that we don't
over nerfing units feels really, really bad. Like when you used to play a character in League of Legends or in TFT, and suddenly like a patch comes out because it was too strong. Now it's just too weak, and you can like not play it anymore. That feels horrible.
Don't have
you lose a piece of yourself in that.
Self-balancing that TFT has by having a communal deck. Remember, TFT is effectively a graphically intensive version of poker. That's really what TFT is, and because of that, you can start to work out if I have this, the other guy probably doesn't have it, or vice versa.
That's so true. I never thought about that, because you have a shared deck. It kind of balances
itself, where if something's really strong, more people will go for it, which means that it'll be harder to hit your separate sort of like power spikes and things like that. The problem with that is you get situations like...
That's such an eye-opener for me, because I love poker and I love auto battlers, but I never drew that line between TFT and poker. And it makes so much sense. And it just realized... it made me realize a lot of about poker too. Like how the high cards, like aces, how they're just not so strong because everybody's going for aces. Like if they go into pot, they're more likely to have an ace than a 2. Which you kind of know about, but to think in that way, it fascinates me.
Or J4 in previous sets where it just doesn't even matter. And you get like the 4 people that hit the top, all the people that chose Samira, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah. And if you get it at the beginning of the game and you are going to win, you know that, and the fun is gone. Yeah. Totally good.
Yeah, and I mean, there's still some things around it. I think that there's a lot more that they could do to solve that. We've tried to put a lot of that into our game in the perspective of it being a very counterable game. One of the issues that I've had, again, I love Riot, and I think that TFT is a great game. I just think the later sets have been suboptimal. And I think one of the reasons is we get situations where you'll have like a mage style comp where it's very, you know, ability damage. And then you've got a thing like Mystic, which is supposed to be about stopping that, you know, resisting that damage. And yet it still doesn't win, right? Like it just absolutely doesn't come close. They have their reasons for it. I understand it. But to me, it would be infinitely a better game if when you saw that someone had hit that obvious thing, you could focus more on the countering thing, because then it would open up a lot more possibilities. Whereas now it's sort of like, well, even if they've got the exact thing that you're supposed to counter, if they hit their power spikes, you're gone. You just can't win. It's like, what the hell? Like that doesn't feel nice. So for our game, we make it really simple. There is a similar system to Pokemon, where you've got different affinities, and each of those affinities counters some of the other ones. So if you are playing against someone in our game, which is 1 versus 1, and you see them just going fire, fire, I like fire, then you can very easily go and play either earth or water, and you'll know that you'll have a pretty strong way of beating them. Even if fire might be slightly strong, it's definitely not going to get above the ability of someone who's hard countering you, because we have a few systems in the game, such as Hyper, where you sort of feed off of the other people that you're playing against. So if you're that earth character and they're fire, your character will go hyper a lot quicker, just purely because of that. And then they'll manifest that hyper through their class, and classes also have a countering system against each other. So it means that there's a lot more nuance into our game that is more similar to like a proper auto chess, something like Chess Automate, which is the game on chess.com, where most of it comes down to, yes, you want to build out your own team, but also you need to think about what the opponent's doing. And unless you're at the very highest level of TFT, you don't really need to think about anyone else these days.
Yeah. And actually, that's where Tacter is more useful, to find all those synergies, to all that counters, to understand all the different things that you can use to counter the best strategy right now. And in the moment that knowledge is very easily available for everyone, the top strategy is not top anymore because everyone is countering. So it's another one, and this begins the cycle. So I'm sure that the best strategy are gonna appear. And the first Tacter is going to help a lot in that part, and it's going to be very fun.
This might sound a little bit ridiculous. I'm not saying it's said a little bit tongue in cheek, but I'm hoping with our game that your meta analysis isn't worthwhile, because if we've done our job, there won't be a meta. It would be like having a chess website that comes up and says the London opening is just way too strong at the moment, you have to go that. And then someone else is like, no, the Scandinavian, that's the only way that you can win. That doesn't exist in chess, because for everything that someone can do, there's a countering strategy for it. We want that to be in our game, where I think that someone like Tacter could be super useful for us is in teaching people fundamental tactics of the game, really getting people to learn about how countering works, how the hyper system works, how different synergies operate. Because if you can teach people those...
It's so fun that Aaron is just explaining him what to do, like how he wants his app to look like. But he's right.
Fundamental building blocks, then they can become a really high-level player straight away without needing to just be really cookie cutter. Oh, I got a Leona on level 1, so that means that I'm just going to try and just do this build and hopefully it works. To me, that is like the most boring part of TFT. It's valuable. If you want to get to the top level, you really do need to be using things like Tacter to get to those levels. So for TFT, what you guys provide is absolutely invaluable service. I'm just saying, if we do our job, I'm hoping that the service you provide to our community will be a little bit different.
Yeah, but there is always a meta. At least, in my opinion, we'll find it. Then the community will go and you will change. But totally agree with you, because that's probably one of the, get your first big...
That's cool. He fired back at him. Stick to his point.
Or reduce the learning curve, learning like the fundamentals, the main 2-3 mechanics for getting you from the starting level to an average player, something like that is very important. Actually, it's one of the main drivers of player retention. And tools like Tacter helps a lot in that part, without leaving apart like the if you want to go for the top 1 spot, or if you want to climb the ladder to become one of the best, you have to go deeper in the game and trying to create those kind of strategies that are like better than everything else, or the vast majority of the cases. And I think that we are running out of time. So before finishing, I want to ask you some more personal questions. I think that is, why are you doing all of this? Like, why Aaron is doing and is working in Illuvium, is co-founding Illuvium, is creating all this new environment? Why do you want to do that?
So I've always been interested in game design ever since I was a little kid. I was always much more interested in building a game that my brothers and I could play that was interesting. It didn't matter whether it was like, you've got a stick of gum and you've got a stapler, go make a game out of it. Like, just come up with something. That was always a passion of mine. And then
that sounds like a dangerous game. You have a stapler and the prize is a stick of gum. Like, what are you gonna do with that stapler to win the gum?
And because my family is very sporting focused, I worked on that. I don't regret it for a minute, because I had some of the best experiences of my life going through trying to become a professional. I did tennis, and before that, swimming. But I got to university, I did computer engineering and physics, and I just found myself always gravitating towards building games. And then I don't know, for some stupid reason, I decided that I needed to, earn a living and be an adult, and you can't do it doing games or whatever. So I just went a whole different direction and started working in retail and marketing and sales and stuff like that. And just all of my spare time was set aside to do things like story building and game design and coding and stuff like that. But it just wasn't enough to ever do anything significant. And then COVID hit. And I think all of my brothers at the same time we're all looking to do something. I didn't have the idea for Illuvium, at least not the idea to do this whole project. They came to me and said, we want to do a project. It wasn't anything like what Illuvium is now, but they were the impetus to me to actually get it going. And they pushed me to say, hey, forget what else you're doing and let's just go on this crazy journey. And I wanted to work with my brothers. I'd never done that in my life. So I was just like, let's just go do it. We'll put some money into it. We'll try our best. If it fails spectacularly, at least we gave it a shot, and it allows us to know where we stand as far as being able to build a franchise out of nothing. And we just started doing it, and I just love it more than anything else in my life. Most people know that I spend long hours working on the project, but as much as I might complain about it, I genuinely love it, and I genuinely wouldn't do it if I didn't. Yeah. Doing game design, building games, coming up with, the requirements for them, and working out how all of these systems go together is just the most fun puzzle I've ever done in my life. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. And that's why we want to make sure that we do the right thing by the community and build something really good. If we get parts of it wrong, which I'm sure we will, we'll be straight in there to try and fix it. We don't want to be adversarial with the community and say, nope, this is what we're doing. And we've put our money where our mouth is by saying, you guys really do get to control this, because if you don't like me, just flick me away.
That's awesome. I mean, that's the beauty of it, right? Like, enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey, and I think that you have a very, very good product, very, very good project, and an awesome game. You are one of the early adopters here in the Web3 space, so a lot of problems that you are solving, your solutions are going to be the standard in the near future, I think. So we are very excited about this partnership, that collaborating and try to push Illuvium a little bit forward with our efforts as well. Yeah. So, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the space holds. I was really disappointed with, between the start of 2021 and now, how there was just almost no innovation. It was just almost all pictures of monkeys, and that was the game. And I'm one of those people that feels like a rising tide will, float all boats. And we just didn't see that. We had this spike, and it was completely artificial, and it had nothing to do with the games actually being enjoyable or anything like that. And it really left the real gaming community with a really bad taste in their mouth for obvious reasons, right? And I feel like there's an opportunity for games to come behind that and say, okay, well, all of that was nonsense. These are the ones that can make it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I look at it very similar to when there was the .com bubble just
Yeah,
before
totally.
2000, where you had people, being, poolcleaning.com, and it's like, well, what does the .com mean? And I don't know. I'm just putting .com in the title because I think that
Yeah.
people were like that. We saw that. I had people come up to me and say, hey, should we put NFTs in our game? And I was like, well, maybe you should decide what your game is, right?
Yeah.
If you came to me, I could say exactly why we're using it. You need to know why your game has this. Otherwise, don't put them in. It's just totally useless. So I feel cautiously optimistic that there'll be a lot of smart people, smarter than me, that will come in behind and come up with some really cool things. And hopefully we can just be a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, totally agree with you. We believe in this as well in the long term. A lot of markets starts or with the speculation, and I think that's one stage more that we have to live, I guess. But behind the scenes, there is a real depth here. We believe that this will empower like the gamers. That is the more important part. At the end of the day, the most important part of the gaming market is the players, and this is very good like for them. So that's why we believe that someone is gonna nail that.
Yeah, we're doing everything that we can to deliver something that a real gamer would like, rather than someone who is just in it for pumping up a price or something like that. We do have to cater for both crowds, but I feel that there's a way to cater for everyone and eventually get them to be the same crowd, in the same way that online games were treated totally separate to things like sports. Whereas now you've got things like League of Legends and Dota and StarCraft, where, back 25, 30 years ago, you would have never thought that something like football would ever be considered in the same breath as these esports. And now there's teams, there's rivalries, there's millions of dollars at play. So I think that there is a way to merge them together, because at the end of the day, it's just human psychology. We like to be competitive. We like to be comfortable in the things that we do, and we like to be entertained. And I think that we can make something that hits all of those things, and we'll just have to see where it goes.
Totally, man. So thank you so much for your time and for all your insights here. I think I've learned a lot personally, and hope you guys have enjoyed this conversation as well. Looking forward what Illuvium is gonna show the world, and looking forward to see how Tacter can push Illuvium that's a step further as well.
Look forward to your help.
And yeah, very, very nice to have you here. Thanks so much, Aaron.
Thank you for inviting me.
We hope you have learned a lot about Aaron's background, experiences, and thoughts on the auto genre.
Yo, the last 5 to 10 minutes of Aaron talking was just mesmerizing. Hey, it was so good. I had some tears in my eyes, I think. Like, I wanted to stop and talk about it, but I was hypnotized. This was really, really good. So here's just about check out in the description to enter Illuvium private beta keys giveaway. So if you want to win some private beta keys, check out Tacter, go into this video, go into the description, and here is the giveaway for the private beta keys. Check them out. That was a really good video, a really good interview. I really enjoyed it. It started a bit slow, to be honest, as somebody who already knows Illuvium and TFT and like all that stuff. Like, there was a long introduction, but this video is catered to TFT people. So yeah, it turned out so good. Like, it started a bit slow, long introduction, I think, but definitely got me hooked. Great interview, great stuff. Thank you very much, Aaron. Thank you very much, Marcos. And you guys have a good day. I see you tomorrow.